So you walk into an interview and someone says, tell me about yourself. And you just rattle on and on. And they start looking at their watch or start, fixing something on their desk that they get distracted by because you are not keeping their attention. It's a lost opportunity. We're going to talk about knowing your pitch, knowing your power, knowing how to attract somebody by just a few words that really hook them into knowing who you are and why they need to have a relationship with you. In the corporate space specifically, when we are trying to vie for a position, sometimes we're not ourselves. We kind of conjure up this other person that doesn't sing our soul. It doesn't let people know who we are. And we sometimes think that's okay because it's a professional situation and we've got to really impress people. I think what impresses people most is you being you and you being confident. And today we're going to talk with a TEDx speaker, a career strategist, someone who really gets inside the ring with you and helps you understand how to comport yourself in the world and how to kick ass. So Jenny Ward is here. She is in Nova Scotia right now. She's got a great career, actually. She's done so many cool things in different cities, kind of understanding how the landscape probably does affect people. When you're in a cold place, do you walk into a room all shivering, and how do you stay open? She's lived in Los Angeles. Maybe people are different when they're in warm climates. We're going to talk about that too. It's a lot to do with not getting caught up in your own story about being an imposter. We've had other conversations on Swell about that. What's imposter syndrome? How do we sabotage our own success? That's going to come into this conversation as well. But I really want to start with the basic kind of pitfalls of when you aren't prepared, when you don't have a pitch, when you mumble on, what's the cost of that? Jenny, thank you for being here. Answer that question for me. What's the cost of somebody who just kind of, obviously know the cost. They're not going to catch their attention. But what have you learned and what has brought you to this career? Because you obviously have done it because you see there's a huge problem with people and not being able to present themselves well. So what's the cost of that? And are there steps that are really clear? And is that what you do with people? And is it a winding road or is it a straight path?
Deborah, thank you so much for having me, for initiating this conversation. I'm really excited to talk about all of these things, especially on the heels of this TED Talk coming out, which was such a phenomenal experience. There are so many things I want to respond to that you said, but I guess I'll start off with talking about the cost of not having a professional story, a professional narrative. When I was recruiting, which I did for about 15 years between New York and LA, predominantly for digital advertising agencies and startups, what I noticed quite quickly was when I was interviewing women, I would often say, tell me a little bit about yourself. And that question would be met with them walking me through their entire resume from the day they graduated university all the way up to what they were doing today. Now, I would have their resume in front of me, and eventually I would get to a point with these individuals where I would say, no, it's fine. I don't need you to walk me through your whole resume. I have it in front of me. Tell me about you. What are you good at? What are you proud of? What do you want to do in your next role? And very often, I was met with kind of a deer in headlights look. And answers like, well, I don't want to brag. I don't want to toot my own horn. I don't want to boast. Similarly, when I would look at a woman's resume, it very often read much more like a job description with words like responsible for, assisted, coordinated, supported. Whereas more often, not always, but more often, men's resumes read like a list of their wins and accomplishments. So what is the cost? The cost is if you do not have a professional narrative that says who you are and what you do in an impactful way, you will not get the career you want and the money you deserve. Our professional narratives are ours. We get to write them. We get to edit them, we get to tweak them, we get to customize them. I was speaking to a client this morning, and every single thing he said to me about his experience, he would downplay. He'd say, well, I did have this one big win, but honestly, it wasn't that big of a deal, and it only happened one time, and, there were other people involved. And I said, what if we told that a different way? What if you said, I did have one really big win I'd like to talk about. It was an opportunity for me to successfully empower or show or demonstrate or lead. So we said the same thing, but we just tilted the way we expressed it. And all of a sudden, it was a totally different story that spoke to his success. So 2 very important things are, what story are you telling yourself about yourself? Have you actually listened to it? Are you aware of it? Because sometimes we tell ourselves the same thing so many times that we don't even realize it's not true. That's number 1. Number 2, without this professional narrative, without this story, this intention, whether we're bringing it to our resume, our cover letter, an interview, a networking event, it gives us the opportunity to attract what we are looking to bring into our lives based on the language that we use. And so often, in order to do that, we have to get out of our own way and allow ourselves to be comfortable and to be confident about the way we talk about ourselves. And the reason I left recruitment and got into career strategy, career coaching, transition coaching, was to give people, men and women, permission to have a story that empowers them, that they feel good about, and that moves them forward in their career and in their life in general.
It's so wonderful that you transitioned to work with people one-on-one, because there's only so much you could do on the other side of that table listening to the mistakes people are making. And now you're kind of creating some momentum for people to not make those mistakes. So I love your career shift. It's very inspiring. It's so interesting to talk about the story. I wrote a book with a therapist about grief, and in that experience, I learned about this idea of COS, which stands for your core operating story. I think it stands for core operating story. Whatever it means this in the narrative. It means that you have some story that you're attached to. And sometimes that could be super negative and you have to shed that. But in your situation, you're actually looking at it a different way. You're saying, what is the positive story that really shows the aspects of you that you're most proud of, that are most relevant to people understanding that you're capable, you're trustworthy, you're open-minded, you're a team player, you have an innovative spirit, all those things that people want to see, but they don't want to see it. They want to be told it through a story, because storytelling is so important. It's the way we're wired, right? So if someone asks, tell me about this job, and you could say, well, let me back up and tell you a story about who I am that makes this job really exciting for me. And even pivoting with that bit of a phrase, someone leans in because they're like, okay, it's story time. And the little child in them is like, tell me a story. So that's really exciting. And I guess the flip side of that is a question I have to ask you. I know we're going to go all over the place today, which is super cool. But I have been in situations where people say, tell us a weakness. And I'm very curious, A, do you like that question? And B, if someone asks someone that question, what's the best way to handle it, and with what kind of reveal, and what's TMI? Too much information about your weakness.
The tell me about a weakness question. No, I do not like this question. I honestly think it's outdated, unoriginal, and a little bit boring on the part of the interviewer. What I'm seeing more of now are these more behavioral focused questions that start off with, tell me about a time. Tell me about a time you failed. Tell me about a time you had conflict with a teammate and how you resolved it. Tell me about a time that you lost a deal and you had to put the pieces back together. Those questions are actually very interesting. They're called the STAR method. And the point of those is to really understand how you think through a problem, what actions you took, and how did you resolve it. Now, with that said, if you are asked what is your weakness, there's something very important to keep in mind. What the hiring manager or the interviewer is trying to get at here is to understand how you handle adversity on the job. You want to avoid canned responses like, I'm a perfectionist, or I have a tendency to work too hard, because those are not what the interviewer wants to hear. Something you can say, if this applies to you, is, sometimes I hold myself to extremely high standards and put a lot of pressure on myself. I've learned to notice when I'm starting to do this, and I take a step back to reevaluate priorities and be realistic about what I know I can get done in a timely manner. That way, you're showing something as a weakness, but you're also highlighting how that weakness has made you better.
Wow, that's really gold to know the intention of that question and then be able to master that response. When does a person in this huge open field of job searching know when they need a coach versus when they need to pick up a book? Because there's a million books about this, right? There's TED Talks about this. Yours is one of them, which is exceptional. But I really do want to understand about when someone really values, the moment they're in and its urgency and its importance. It's not to be, played with as like, I'm just going to apply to a few places and see what happens. Like, some of these moments in life are really pivotal. And I know you have clients that, have this intimate connection with you, and they do a lot of role playing where they can practice answering questions. They could learn how they sound. They can use you as a sounding board in addition to getting, really good framing tools to help them really position themselves well. So if someone's listening to this and they're saying, wow, I really want to have someone like Jenny in my court. At what point do you gift yourself that kind of coach? Because I know a lot of people are looking for jobs and they don't even have the money to do it. So they'll pick up a book and they'll get some good ideas. But I guess from you, I'm looking for guidance around at what point in someone's career, and they're making a career move, do they really need a coach?
Well, I wish I'd had a coach in my 20s, late 20s, early 30s. And that is also part of what got me into this career. I want to be the person I wish I had had when I was younger. Because I personally was just taking jobs that were offered to me because it made me feel better about myself. And it was not at all intentional or by design, which is why I felt like after 15 years of being in corporate recruitment, I'd been on this road trip that I was in a car that I wasn't driving with no map and didn't have any idea how I'd gotten where I was, because nothing that I had done had been a choice that I had made, but merely a reaction that I had had to someone offering me a job, suggesting I pursue a certain job or interview for something. So that's the first thing. Secondly, yes, coaching is an investment, 100%. But it is an investment in yourself and in your future. The difference between working one-on-one with someone like me or going out and buying a book or watching a TED Talk comes down to a couple things. Yes, can you afford a coach? It's not cheap. Like I said, it's an investment. But the advantage of working with a coach, if you can make that investment, is that everyone's situation is different. Everyone is interviewing for different types of jobs. Everyone has different questions about how to negotiate salary, or how to write a resume that's going to get you the attention you deserve, or how to tell your professional story with impact. The first thing I do when I meet with someone is ask them to go very, very deep with me in their story. What their job is. How did they get that job? Why did they choose that job? What are they good at? What are they naturally inclined to do? What brings them satisfaction and fulfillment? And because everyone's story is so different, the approach that I take with each of my clients is different, and it becomes extremely personal and personalized. Personal in the sense that I am there for my people very, very closely, and I'm very hands-on in the way I work with people. But number two, it's personalized to your particular journey. So my advice or my response to your question about when do people know they need a coach, I think almost everyone needs a coach. But if you are struggling with your current situation, if you're unhappy in your current career, but you don't know what to do about it because you feel stuck or unseen or underutilized, you know that you have more to offer, but you're not sure what that is. And maybe you feel like just things being fine is not good enough for you anymore. And that was really the breaking point or the tipping point for me. I was using the word fine to describe my career. And as I was approaching 40, I just thought there has to be more than fine for me. And there was.
I think it's so inspiring to look at yourself in the mirror and say, yeah, I'm fine, but I want to be fucking awesome. And what's that road look like? And who do I enroll to support me in that, like, kick-ass vision of myself down the road? And we all need a Jenny Ward in our lives for sure. As I've gotten to know you, I feel like, on and off this app, by the way, I feel like there's just an opportunity to take advantage of this audacious invitation you've been made, which is like, you deserve it. You deserve to invest in yourself. It's really inspirational. I'm opening this up to have some new voices come in. So if you are listening to this and you have a question for Jenny, you have a story, you have ideas about this question of what is your pitch, what's your power, how do you position yourself in an expedient, efficient, provocative way to the people you really want to engage with, and what does that look like? Do you want to practice that here in this conversation? Tell us who you are. Tell us your purpose, what you're looking for. That stuff is just delicious to listen to and to workshop and to kind of be in the flow with. So let's see what happens. Jenny, I'm excited to have you here on this platform and be in this conversation. So thank you. Let's see how we go from here.
Hello, Debbie. Thank you for taking this initiative, and thank you for opening this amazing conversation to others. And also thanks to Jenny Ward, who had shared this amazing insight into his pathway as a recruiter. And I'm so pleased to have you both here on Swell, and so I can learn, so I can have direct advice, because this is something that I didn't expect to happen at any point of my life. So thank you all. I'm really grateful for your wisdom and for everything you've been sharing so far. So what I would like to ask specifically to Jenny Ward, it's totally regarding my experience as a professional, because I've been taking part in many different job interview. Some of them, or most of them, was about customer care service, because I got experience in this area. I started working as a representative agent at the age of 19, and I've learned many things from it, even though it was a French customer care service. So throughout my career, I developed great interest in learning languages, and I decided to learn English so that I can avail myself of the opportunity that language could offer me. So I played different roles. I was a representative. Let's say I was responsible to handle queries over social media. I was chatting and answering, emailing to customers. But it's been more than 6 months that I traveled abroad to another country. And since I got there, I've been struggling to take this new step on my career because English is something that I love as a language. I love everything that is around English. I love speaking with native speaker. I love to learn from them, but I don't know what happened to me specifically, but every time that I have the opportunity to move ahead with that language, I would take some recent example. I underwent uh, an interpreting training, so I was trained uh, deliver to deliver message from English to Creole and to Creole to English. So Creole is the language that is spoken in Haiti. It's a country that is located in the Caribbean market. So after passing the training, I had to take a last exam, and when taking this exam, I chickened out, and I also found myself checking out in many other job situation, whether it's interview or other direct opportunity. So I don't know if there is something wrong with my narrative. I try to be honest as much as I can. I try to write my narrative prior to the meeting, and oftentimes what happens when I put my narrative on the piece of paper on the day of the interview, I most of the time found myself forgetting everything that I wrote on the paper. So I don't know if you could share any advice about that and eventually guidelines, because I will have to. I've been invited today to attend on Monday an interview with a company that needs interpreter, but I do not have mixed feeling, but I'm afraid to repeat the same mistake, even though that I've been working on myself for a while.
Bonjour, mon ami, comment ça va? How are you? I speak a little teeny tiny bit of French, but you have a beautiful accent. So, listen, thank you so much for sharing your story. Here is the first thing I want to ask you. For this role that you're interviewing for on Monday, do you have a job description? Is there a job description that says what they want this person to do in the role?
Bonjour Jenny Ward, je vais très bien, merci. Et vous? C'est superbe d'entendre une voix américaine qui parle français. C'est superbe, je suis vraiment ravi. Vraiment, vraiment. Of course, there is a job descriptions, and thank you so much for highlighted my accent, even though it is the first time an American gave me a good feedback about my accent. Most of the time, when I'm not speaking directly to linguists, they often judge my accent as heavy. So thank you. I'm so thrilled that I can stop feeling awe about that. Thank you so much, Jenny Ward. Thank you. So of course there is a job descriptions, and I know what I'm calling to do as an interpreter. It's merely with I have to comply with the NCHIC standard norms, which is the norm that every interpreter has followed so far in their duty. And of course, I know pretty much about it, but I oftentimes assuming that I know about the job, which is why I do not pay close attention to what is written by the company, let's say generally. Thank you so much.
Oh, because I'm Canadian. I lived in the US for a long time, but I'm Canadian. So that's why I speak a little French. So listen, the reason I ask about the job description is in terms of trying to remember your story. When you go to an interview, what I would suggest is go through that job description and highlight, pick out 4 or 5 things that you know that you can confidently speak to in the interview. So when they say, "Hi, Bertie, tell me about yourself," rather than telling them about everything you've ever done in your entire career, you're able to say, "Yes, I'm a certified translator," however you explain that, and I'd love to tell you why I think I'm a good fit for the job. Number 1, I noticed on the job description you're looking for someone who has experience doing blah, blah, blah. I have successfully done blah, blah, blah. So taking just a couple minutes at the beginning of the interview to answer that question, to tell them exactly why you think you're a good fit, rather than trying to have this whole long story prepared about who you are that you might forget. Is this interview in person or is it virtual?
Thank you, Jenny Hord, for bringing that to my attention. And this is something that I've never done. I've never took the time to review the job descriptions and to drown my narrative from it. So thank you, and I will definitely take this advice on board and proceed in that way. The interview will be held virtual because those company are international company and they employ independent contractor, freelancer precisely. And it's also amazing for me to know that I'm not alone here. I'm not the only one who speak to more than one languages, because the accent is something that is stick to our tongue. It's difficult to get rid of it, or I can say impossible. So I know that effectively in Canada you speak 2 languages, English and French. It's amazing. It's amazing. Thank you.
See, this is even better. So take some of those things from the job description that you know you can speak to, write them on little Post-it notes, like just to remind you of the things you want to talk about, and just put the Post-it notes up around the top of your laptop, because no one will know that you're looking at those. It will just look like you're looking at the camera. So again, remember, you want to make this brief. You don't want to be talking for a long time, but your intention is just to explain to them very clearly why you're a good fit for the job, and make sure that you have done a little bit of research on the company itself, because you want to be able to tell them why you want to work for this company. You want to make them feel special, like this particular company is doing something important to you. And at the end of the interview, if they say, "Do you have any questions for us?" it's really important that you have some questions prepared. Do you know the names of the people that you're going to be interviewing with? Because it's also really good if you can look at their backgrounds on LinkedIn before you speak with them.
Of course, I did know their names, but I didn't think it was something important to make research about. But as you advise me, I will definitely take a look at the company journey, also know about the recruiter, and I will take them more to structure my narrative, and I also put them on my screen. As you said, they will not know that I am reading anything on my screen. But one thing that I would like to outline, it's I think I was not confident enough on my language level, because I didn't learn in this very traditional way, because I know people out there are having teachers or they have tutor. But merely what I did with my English, take I took every free material that I could find available, and hopefully I won across this amazing platform. It is World English Institute. They offer a free language course, but those content are written. They are written content, and they also use the Bible as a compass to build the English level. They offer a lot of grammar content, but I didn't spend much time before those 3 previous months speaking with native, interacting with them, and feeling that my voice is being clearly understand. I had a lot of insecurity on this part, and now that I figure things out and that I have your advice, I will certainly do better. I will certainly do better in this job interview that waiting for me on Monday, and I will take this weekend to do my work and to build my structure and to structure my narrative based off your advice. Thank you so much, Jenny Ward. Thank you. You've been more than a guider, or you've been more than I don't know what to say, but I'm really pleased by our conversation, and I look forward to hearing your content on Swell, and thank you also to DB for bringing you here to give us those insights, those piece of insight. Thank you.
First of all, your English is fantastic. Your voice is wonderful. And this is exactly what I'm talking about when we talk about narrative. What are we telling ourselves, right? Not just what are we telling other people, but you need to look at this not like, well, maybe I didn't have formal training, maybe I didn't have all of the classes that somebody else had, and pivot that to say, you know what I'm really proud of? That I got my hands on every free resource I could to learn this language, and I think that is one of my strengths. It shows that I'm ambitious, and it's something I'm incredibly proud of. That is how you tweak your narrative to be a more positive story, not just for the person you're telling it to, but to yourself. What an amazing accomplishment.
Of course, absolutely. And I had to be really ambitious on this journey. And, not everyone out there has the capacity to understand what one is trying to accomplish when you are lack in terms of resources. And of course, you stated it right, and I will draw my narrative from them. And thank you so much for being this guest today, and it's really that means a lot to me, and you made my day. You gave me more than advice. I can call them advice anymore. They are for me shield to go out there and continue taking action. Thank you.
You are so welcome, and please allow yourself to feel really proud that you even took the initiative to be part of this conversation and to join in. I think that's really admirable. So I hope that you are proud of yourself for that, and I wish you the very, very best of luck on Monday. And if you have any questions before then, please do not hesitate to ask me, okay? Good luck, my friend.
Thank you for opening this door. I wouldn't hesitate. And of course, I'm more than happy having taken part in these conversations. It's, as I said on my former audio, it's like a dream come true because I like to listen to podcasts. I like to listen to people who achieve admirable things in their life, whether professional, whether or uh, personal and their personal life. So I'm really proud of our conversation, and I look forward to taking in part and many other opportunities to converse with you and Debbie and other amazing users on Swell. Thank you, and I receive your look for Monday, and I will definitely nail it on the head and ask you prior to the interview if I have any questions. Thank you very much.